Welcome to the Trackpads podcast, your go-to destination for exploring the rich history, strategies, and leadership lessons of warfare. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and sign up for the weekly newsletter. You can also explore more by visiting trackpads.com. In this podcast episode, we take you through the key lessons of Operation Desert Storm, narrating the full article for those who prefer to listen on the go. From the geopolitical tensions that led to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait to the overwhelming military response by the U.S.-led coalition, this episode explores the strategies, technological innovations, and battlefield maneuvers that defined the Gulf War. You'll hear about the Powell Doctrine's role in shaping the campaign, the dominance of air power through precision-guided munitions and stealth technology, and how coalition forces executed a rapid, decisive ground assault in just 100 hours. Operation Desert Storm was a defining moment in modern military history, showcasing the power of coalition warfare, which is a joint military effort by multiple nations, along with advanced technology and strategic planning, to achieve a swift and decisive victory. Launched in response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990, the United States-led coalition executed a highly coordinated campaign that demonstrated the effectiveness of overwhelming force, precision air power, and rapid ground maneuvers. The conflict highlighted the role of emerging technologies such as precision-guided munitions, which are weapons that use specialized targeting systems to strike specific objectives, stealth aircraft designed to evade detection by radar, and the global positioning system, setting new standards for modern warfare. While the military success of Desert Storm was undeniable, its legacy also underscored the complexities of post-war stability and the limits of military intervention in reshaping political landscapes. By examining the strategies, innovations, and lessons learned from the Gulf War, we can better understand how it reshaped military doctrine and influenced future conflicts. Background and causes. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi forces led by Saddam Hussein launched a sudden and overwhelming invasion of the country of Kuwait, swiftly occupying the small but strategically significant nation. Saddam Hussein justified the attack with a combination of historical grievances and economic disputes, claiming Kuwait was historically part of Iraq and accusing it of overproducing oil, thus undermining Iraq's economic stability. However, the true motivation was Iraq's staggering debt from the war between Iran and Iraq, along with a desperate need for new revenue. Kuwait's vast oil reserves offered a tempting solution. The invasion sent shockwaves through the international community, threatening regional stability and global energy markets, because, combined, Kuwait's and Iraq's oil production would have given Saddam Hussein enormous leverage over worldwide supply. This move also raised alarms in Saudi Arabia, which feared it could be the next target, leading to immediate calls for international intervention. Kuwait's geographic position and oil wealth made it a crucial pillar of global economic stability, so its occupation by Iraq posed a direct threat to both Western and regional interests. At the time, Kuwait held roughly 10% of the world's proven oil reserves, and its ports along the Persian Gulf were critical for exporting petroleum to global markets. Saddam Hussein's control over Kuwait's resources, combined with Iraq's own oil production, would have enabled him to manipulate oil prices and place immense pressure on global economies. For the United States and its allies, allowing an unchecked Iraqi regime to control such a significant portion of the world's oil supply was unacceptable, as any disruption could send prices soaring and destabilize economies worldwide. Furthermore, Hussein's aggression set a dangerous precedent, challenging the post-Cold War international order and threatening smaller nations that relied on larger allies for security. The response to Iraq's invasion was swift, with the United Nations passing Resolution 660 condemning the act and demanding an immediate withdrawal. When Saddam Hussein refused, the United Nations increased pressure with Resolution 661, imposing harsh economic sanctions intended to cripple Iraq's ability to maintain its occupation of Kuwait. As diplomatic measures failed, the United Nations issued Resolution 678 in November 1990, authorizing the use of force if Iraq did not withdraw by January 15, 1991. This legal framework brought together a broad coalition of 35 nations, led by the United States, The coalition included Western allies such as the United Kingdom and France, regional powers including Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and even unexpected contributors like Syria, demonstrating an unprecedented level of global unity. Although Iraq tried to exploit divisions among Arab nations and portray the conflict as resistance against Western imperialism, the overwhelming consensus was that Iraq's aggression could not go unchecked. In the months leading up to Desert Storm, the United States and its allies began Operation Desert Shield, a massive military buildup intended to deter further Iraqi aggression and prepare for potential combat. The initial goal was to defend Saudi Arabia, as intelligence indicated Iraq might attempt another advance to capture additional oil-rich territory. Armed forces from the United States, led by the American General Norman Schwarzkopf, swiftly deployed to the region, reinforcing Saudi defenses and coordinating with coalition partners to ensure their forces could operate together effectively. Air bases were established, supply lines were fortified, and multinational training exercises were conducted in anticipation of a possible ground conflict. Meanwhile, Iraq bolstered its defenses in Kuwait by digging trenches, planting minefields, and constructing reinforced bunkers, which are fortified structures designed to protect troops, preparing for what Saddam Hussein called the mother of all battles. Throughout late 1990, diplomatic efforts to prevent war continued. The United Nations, the United States, and Arab mediators attempted to negotiate a peaceful solution, issuing repeated warnings to Saddam Hussein regarding the severe consequences of failing to withdraw from Kuwait. Nevertheless, each ultimatum met with defiance. Saddam Hussein believed the coalition lacked the political resolve to launch a full-scale military offensive, predicting that disagreements between Western and Arab nations would weaken their unity. He also tried to redirect global attention by linking the crisis to the long-standing dispute between the State of Israel and the Palestinian territories, insisting that Israel withdraw from occupied lands in return for an Iraqi withdrawal from Kuwait. These attempts made little progress, and when the January 15th deadline passed without Iraqi compliance, the stage was set for the beginning of Operation Desert Storm. Military strategies and planning. The coalition's approach to Operation Desert Storm was heavily influenced by the Powell Doctrine, a strategy emphasizing overwhelming force, clear objectives, and strong public and political support before engaging in military action. This doctrine, championed by then-chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest-ranking leadership group in the United States military, General Colin Powell, dictated that when military force was used, it should be swift, decisive, and backed by overwhelming superiority to minimize casualties and ensure a quick victory. The Gulf War provided a textbook application of this doctrine, as the coalition sought to achieve air dominance, cripple Iraqi command and control, their ability to communicate orders and coordinate troops, and follow up with a rapid ground offensive. By deploying an unprecedented level of firepower and technology, the coalition ensured that Iraqi forces were not just defeated, but incapacitated, leaving them little room for counteraction. The scale and efficiency of this strategy set the standard for future United States military operations, demonstrating how modern warfare could be waged with precision and overwhelming strength. A key aspect of the coalition's success was its seamless integration of air, land, and naval forces into a coordinated campaign designed to dismantle Iraqi defenses in phases. Air power was given primacy in the initial stages, softening enemy positions before ground forces engaged, while naval assets in the Persian Gulf provided missile strikes and logistical support, the management of transporting and supplying troops. The ability to synchronize these elements across multiple domains gave the coalition a strategic advantage, ensuring that Iraqi forces were simultaneously attacked from multiple angles. Logistics played an equally critical role, with supply chains stretching across continents to maintain the coalition's combat readiness. Unlike previous large-scale wars where weeks or months of prolonged fighting were expected, this level of coordination allowed the coalition to maintain relentless pressure on Iraqi forces with remarkable efficiency. The first major step in achieving battlefield dominance was securing air superiority, which was accomplished through Operation Instant Thunder, an aggressive aerial bombing plan designed to dismantle Iraq's air defenses and cripple its ability to coordinate resistance. Coalition aircraft targeted radar installations, missile batteries, and communication hubs, effectively blinding the Iraqi military within days. The campaign also struck key infrastructure, including airfields and military supply depots, ensuring that Iraqi forces could not effectively maneuver or respond. The use of precision-guided munitions allowed the coalition to target military assets with unprecedented accuracy, reducing collateral damage while maximizing effectiveness. By the time the ground invasion began, the Iraqi military was already severely weakened, struggling to operate without effective command and control. One of the most brilliant tactical maneuvers of the war was the Hail Mary flanking attack, a large-scale deception operation designed to convince Iraqi commanders that the main coalition assault would come from the south. While coalition forces built up in the Kuwaiti desert, maintaining the illusion of a direct frontal assault, a massive force, including armored divisions, executed a wide sweeping movement westward into the Iraqi desert. This maneuver, hidden by strict operational security and electronic warfare measures, allowed coalition forces to bypass heavily fortified Iraqi positions and strike from an unexpected angle. When the ground invasion commenced, Iraqi troops were caught off guard, unable to reposition in time to stop the advance. The success of this maneuver demonstrated the power of deception in modern warfare, proving that overwhelming force combined with strategic cunning could lead to rapid and decisive victories. A final but crucial factor in the success of Operation Desert Storm was the unprecedented level of coalition unity and interoperability, bringing together a diverse set of nations with different military capabilities and doctrines under a single coordinated command structure. Unlike past multinational efforts where conflicting objectives often hindered effectiveness, this coalition functioned with remarkable efficiency, thanks to meticulous planning and clear lines of authority. Interoperability between forces was achieved through standardized communication systems, joint training exercises, and shared intelligence, ensuring that airstrikes, ground movements, and logistical support worked in concert. The diplomatic groundwork laid before the operation also ensured that member nations remained politically aligned, preventing divisions that could have weakened the effort. This level of international military cooperation would serve as a model for future operations, proving that a well-coordinated alliance could achieve overwhelming success in a modern combat environment. Technological innovations. One of the defining features of Operation Desert Storm was the extensive use of precision-guided munitions, spelled out as PGMs, which revolutionized modern warfare by dramatically reducing collateral damage while increasing effectiveness. Unlike traditional bombs lacking guidance systems, sometimes called dumb bombs, PGMs used laser, infrared, or the global positioning system to strike designated targets with pinpoint accuracy. This allowed coalition forces to neutralize key Iraqi military installations, air defenses, and infrastructure without causing widespread destruction to civilian areas. The efficiency of these precision-guided munitions was evident in the air campaign, where coalition aircraft systematically dismantled Iraqi command centers, bridges, and airfields with minimal wasted ordnance. By demonstrating how modern militaries could wage war with surgical precision, Desert Storm set a precedent for future conflicts, proving that advanced weaponry could achieve strategic objectives while minimizing unintended casualties. Stealth technology also played a pivotal role in the conflict, particularly with the deployment of the F-117 Nighthawk, a revolutionary aircraft designed to evade radar detection. The F-117 was instrumental in the early stages of the air campaign, striking heavily fortified command and communication centers deep inside Iraq without being detected by enemy air defenses. Its unique shape and radar-absorbent materials allowed it to operate in contested airspace with near impunity, ensuring that high-value targets were eliminated before Iraq could mount an effective response. While only a small number of these aircraft were deployed, their impact was outsized, proving that stealth technology could provide a decisive advantage in modern warfare. The effectiveness of the F-117 and other stealth assets forced adversaries to rethink air defense strategies, pushing military technology toward further advancements in stealth and counter-stealth capabilities. The coalition's dominance in communications, surveillance, and reconnaissance gave it an overwhelming advantage over Iraqi forces, who struggled to coordinate operations under constant disruption. Airborne Warning and Control System aircraft, often referred to as AWACS, provided real-time battlefield awareness, tracking enemy movements and guiding coalition aircraft to their targets with precision. Satellite surveillance further enhanced intelligence gathering capabilities, allowing coalition planners to monitor Iraqi troop deployments and infrastructure in unprecedented detail. Electronic warfare played a crucial role in blinding Iraqi defenses as coalition forces jammed radar systems, intercepted communications, and disrupted Iraq's ability to mount an organized response. This level of information superiority meant that Iraqi forces were often reacting blindly, unable to effectively counter the coalition's coordinated strikes. On the ground, the deployment of the M1 Abrams tank and the Bradley fighting vehicle provided the coalition with an unmatched advantage in armored warfare. The M1 Abrams, with its composite armor, advanced fire control system, and 120mm smoothbore cannon, proved vastly superior to Iraq's Soviet-era T-72 tanks. In head-to-head engagements, Abrams crews consistently outgunned and outmaneuvered their Iraqi counterparts, suffering minimal losses while destroying entire armored divisions. The Bradley fighting vehicle complemented the Abrams by providing infantry with mobility, protection, and firepower, ensuring that coalition ground forces could advance rapidly while maintaining overwhelming fire superiority. The combination of these armored platforms made the coalition's ground assault devastatingly effective, allowing forces to breach Iraqi defensive lines with ease. Another technological innovation that played a critical role in the success of the campaign was the widespread use of the Global Positioning System, which transformed battlefield navigation and targeting. Prior to Desert Storm, the Global Positioning System was still relatively new in military operations, but during the war, it became indispensable for coordinating troop movements across the featureless desert terrain. Coalition forces used the Global Positioning System to navigate efficiently, execute complex maneuvers like the Hail Mary flanking attack, and ensure precise targeting for air and artillery strikes. This real-time positional awareness gave the coalition a decisive edge over Iraqi forces, who relied on outdated maps and traditional navigation methods. The success of Global Positioning System-guided operations in Desert Storm solidified its role as a cornerstone of modern military strategy, influencing how future conflicts would be conducted. Key phases of the operation. The air campaign of Operation Desert Storm marked one of the most comprehensive and devastating aerial bombardments in military history, designed to systematically degrade Iraqi air defenses, infrastructure, and command centers. Over the course of 42 days, coalition aircraft launched relentless strikes against radar installations, missile sites, airfields, and communication hubs, effectively blinding the Iraqi military. The objective was to achieve total air superiority, ensuring that Iraq's air force was neutralized before it could pose a significant threat. Precision-guided munitions allowed coalition forces to take out hardened bunkers and strategic assets with remarkable accuracy, reducing collateral damage while maximizing operational effectiveness. By the time the air campaign concluded, Iraq's ability to coordinate its defenses had been shattered, paving the way for the ground assault that would follow. With Iraqi forces severely weakened by the air campaign, the coalition launched a rapid and overwhelming ground offensive, shattering what remained of Iraq's defenses in just 100 hours. United States and Allied forces executed a high-speed, coordinated attack that overwhelmed Iraqi positions, capitalizing on mobility and superior firepower. The assault began with a feint in the south, leading Iraqi commanders to believe the main attack would come from Kuwait's heavily fortified border. Meanwhile, the main coalition force executed the now famous Hail Mary flanking maneuver, sweeping hundreds of miles west into the Iraqi desert before pivoting eastward to encircle enemy forces. This maneuver left Iraqi units trapped and disoriented, unable to effectively respond before coalition forces crushed them in lightning-fast engagements. The sheer speed and precision of the assault left Iraqi defenders in disarray, forcing many to surrender without significant resistance. As coalition forces pressed forward, the final objective was the liberation of Kuwait and the decisive routing of the Iraqi military. The remnants of Iraq's occupying forces, demoralized and cut off from effective command, collapsed in the face of overwhelming coalition firepower. Kuwaiti resistance fighters and citizens welcomed coalition troops as they pushed through the capital, ensuring the swift restoration of the country's sovereignty. The retreating Iraqi forces, in a desperate and vindictive act, set fire to over 700 Kuwaiti oil wells, creating an environmental catastrophe that would take years to clean up. In what became known as the Highway of Death, retreating Iraqi military convoys were decimated by coalition airstrikes, a stark demonstration of the coalition's dominance. Within days, Kuwait was fully liberated, and Iraqi forces were in full retreat, effectively bringing the main combat phase of Desert Storm to an end. Despite the overwhelming success of the coalition's strategy, several challenges emerged during the operation, particularly in navigating the harsh desert conditions and mitigating the risks of friendly fire incidents. The featureless terrain of the Arabian Desert presented significant navigation difficulties, making the global positioning system crucial for coordinating troop movements and supply lines. Sandstorms and extreme temperature fluctuations also created logistical hurdles, complicating vehicle maintenance and troop endurance. Additionally, with the scale of coalition forces operating in close proximity, friendly fire incidents became an unfortunate reality, with several engagements mistakenly resulting in casualties among Allied troops. Despite rigorous planning and training, the fog of war led to misidentifications and tragic losses. This highlighted the complexities of conducting a massive multinational operation in a high-speed combat environment. Psychological operations played a crucial role in the coalition's effort to undermine Iraqi morale and encourage mass surrenders, significantly reducing the need for prolonged combat. Coalition forces employed a variety of tactics, including leaflet drops, radio broadcasts, and loudspeaker messages, urging Iraqi troops to lay down their arms. Many of these messages emphasized the hopelessness of the Iraqi situation, reminding them of the overwhelming military force against them while assuring humane treatment if they surrendered. These efforts proved remarkably effective, with entire Iraqi units abandoning their positions without firing a shot, including some that surrendered to unarmed reconnaissance drones or television crews. By leveraging psychological pressure alongside military might, the coalition further accelerated the collapse of Iraqi resistance, ensuring a swift and decisive victory. Lessons learned and legacy. One of the most significant lessons from Operation Desert Storm was the importance of coalition building and securing international legitimacy in modern conflicts. The success of the campaign was largely due to the unprecedented cooperation of 35 nations under a unified command structure, a stark contrast to unilateral military actions of the past. The broad coalition, backed by United Nations Resolution 678, provided not only military strength but also political credibility, reinforcing the idea that Iraq's invasion of Kuwait was a violation of international law rather than a bilateral dispute. This collective effort also helped spread the financial and logistical burden of war, with countries like Saudi Arabia and Japan contributing significant resources to support the operation. Desert Storm became a model for future military interventions, demonstrating that a well-structured alliance with clear objectives could achieve decisive results with minimal political fallout. The Gulf War also solidified the dominance of air power in modern warfare, proving that a well-executed aerial campaign could dictate the outcome of a conflict before ground forces even engaged. The coalition's ability to establish complete air superiority within days, systematically dismantling Iraq's defenses, command centers, and supply lines, rendered much of the Iraqi military ineffective before the ground invasion began. The use of precision-guided munitions, stealth technology, and electronic warfare allowed the coalition to strike with accuracy and efficiency never before seen on such a large scale. Desert Storm validated the idea that air campaigns, when properly planned and executed, could serve as the primary means of achieving strategic objectives while minimizing friendly casualties. This realization would shape future military doctrines, placing even greater emphasis on air power as the backbone of large-scale operations. The war also highlighted the rapid advances in military technology, particularly in precision warfare, intelligence gathering, and battlefield coordination. The use of the global positioning system for troop movements and targeting, real-time surveillance from satellites and airborne warning and control system aircraft, and the deployment of sophisticated armored vehicles like the M1 Abrams tank demonstrated how technological superiority could decisively tilt the balance of power. The effectiveness of stealth technology, seen in the near invulnerability of the F-117 Nighthawk, forced adversaries to rethink their air defense strategies. These technological advancements reshaped military procurement and doctrine, leading to the continued development of networked warfare, unmanned systems, and even more precise weaponry in the years that followed. Despite its success on the battlefield, Desert Storm also underscored the limits of military intervention, particularly in achieving long-term political stability. While the coalition succeeded in expelling Iraqi forces from Kuwait, Saddam Hussein remained in power, and his regime continued to pose a regional threat. The decision to halt the war without advancing into Baghdad was based on concerns over the political and humanitarian consequences of regime change, but it left Iraq under a brutal dictatorship that would later provoke another conflict. In the years following Desert Storm, Iraq's defiance of the United Nations sanctions, continued oppression of its people, and pursuit of weapons programs created ongoing challenges for United States policymakers. The war demonstrated that while overwhelming military power could win battles, it could not always guarantee a stable and lasting peace. The influence of Desert Storm on subsequent United States military campaigns, particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan, was profound, shaping operational planning, doctrine, and expectations for warfare in the 21st century. The overwhelming success of the campaign created a perception that future wars could be fought with the same level of speed, precision, and minimal casualties, leading to confidence in the use of force in later conflicts. However, the challenges of post-war governance in Iraq after the 2003 invasion highlighted the differences between short, high-intensity conflicts and prolonged counterinsurgency operations. While Desert Storm proved the effectiveness of modern combined arms warfare, it also served as a cautionary tale, reminding military strategists that battlefield victories do not always translate into long-term strategic success. Conclusion: Operation Desert Storm remains a landmark in military history, demonstrating the effectiveness of coalition warfare, precision air power, and technological superiority in achieving rapid victories. The success of the campaign validated new doctrines of warfare, from the Powell Doctrine's emphasis on overwhelming force to the critical role of air superiority in modern conflicts. However, while the war showcased the advantages of advanced weaponry and strategic coordination, it also highlighted the challenges of post-war stability and the limitations of military intervention in achieving long-term political outcomes. The lessons of Desert Storm influence future United States military campaigns, shaping strategies in Iraq, Afghanistan, and beyond, proving that while battlefield dominance can be decisive, lasting security requires more than just firepower. Understanding the Gulf War's impact provides invaluable insights into the evolution of modern warfare and the ongoing challenges of global military engagement. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Trackpads podcast. Don't forget to check out the Trackpads online newsletter, where we take things to the next level with multimedia content. Each issue features fascinating and informative photos, videos, and articles that bring the stories of military life to you in a dynamic and engaging way. Be sure to subscribe at trackpads.com to stay informed and entertained. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the incredible world of military history and life.